the Milwaukee Show, and today we're, of course, talking about the Calgary Flames and their season preview. Now, first, I know, this video isn't going to look the best, it's not going to sound the best, but it's the best I can do for today, so we're going to roll with it. But anyways, the Calgary Flames, a team last year that really was the breaking point in this franchise, where they move on from Brad Treliving after missing the playoffs, after trading away Matthew Tkachuk to bring in Jonathan Huberdeau, which in the year before, you could have made an argument that Huberdeau was a better player than Matthew Tkachuk, and they also go out and get Mackenzie Weegar as well, and Nazem Kadri. Like, they've got really put together a team where it was like they lost players, they lost Gaudreau and Tkachuk, and they put things back together, and maybe even a little bit more. They might have actually made the team better. And boy, was anyone who thought that wrong, and couldn't be even more wrong, because this team misses the playoffs, and guys like Huberdeau dropped from 115 points to just 55. And that is like what? It's like the sixth or like in the top 5 of like the biggest like point drop-offs in NHL history, so that's absurd. So Huberdeau, not a good record to have. And Mackenzie Weegar coming in, not being a true like superstar, like game-changing defenseman that they really could have used, only getting 31 points. And Nazem Kadri, 56 points, which isn't bad for his role on the team. So his spot is fine. Kadri's thing, not that big of a deal. But going into next year, right, as we look at this team, what are they aiming for, right? Because they're not in rebuild mode, but they're also, like, they didn't do anything to really make the team any better. So I guess they're just running it back and hoping that guys like Huberdeau change things around from 55 points and get at least to, like, the 70s to 80s. But things are looking like they're collapsing on themselves already. Because before I even go into the team, guys like Toffoli, who said that they wanted out, they're already gone. Guys like Noah Hanifin, guys like Lindholm, saying that they don't even know if they want to stay around, if they're going to re-sign a contract and stay a little bit longer. So you don't even know when these guys are gone. Like, you don't know if Lindholm will even make it to the beginning of the season. Noah Hanifin, will he make it to the beginning of the season? I think probably, especially Noah Hanifin, but Lindholm, like, if you're going to go out and, like, get something in return for a team like Boston where they could use a guy on a lower contract like Lindholm, who they need a first-line centerman, Lindholm is the guy to go for. But the issue with like a team like the Bruins, they don't have a lot of trade back. So you got to find a team that could really use those type of players. And right now, just looking at the team anyways, like without that even being in your head of like morale being down, guys don't even want to be there anymore, without even taking that in consideration, this team still does not look like a playoff team regardless. Huberdeau, 55 points last year. Can he bounce back? I would think so. You would think he'd have to, right? I mean, from 115 points to 55 points, he's probably more in that middle area on a team like the Flames, where he's more like a 70-point guy, right? So his numbers should go up. But it's not going to be helped out with the fact that Tyler Toffoli's gone, who was this team's #1 goal scorer last year. So where is those assists going to come from? That's been hampered. Linus Lindholm, 22 goals, 64 points, right? So he's a goal scorer too. He can score goals. He's good both ways. And for Lindholm, I mean, does he stay or does he go? I don't know at this point, I think he probably walks, and they probably should trade him away. But I think they're going to let it play out, get to the trade deadline, and then see where they're at. If they're a playoff team, they'll keep guys around. If they're not, then they'll probably move them out. But for Lindholm, for right now, 64 points. Is a drop-off from his 80 points in the year before with Gaudreau and Tkachuk, but of course things are going to change when you have a change-up of like that three-guy chemistry that they had that was so great. So Lindholm, I would expect to have better footing this year, but who knows with morale and whatever comes with that. Sharangovich, a guy that they bring in from the New Jersey Devils in the trade for Toffoli, and Sharangovich, 30 points last year, 13 goals. With him being able to get more minutes and have more minutes on the ice and be in a better prime position to be playing for this team, I think those numbers will go up and he will be a better part of the game. But is he a problem solver for this team? No. He's not going to break out. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he does break out. Maybe he does get to like 60 points this year, gets like 22 goals or something like that. Maybe. But I don't see that happening with Sharangovich on his first year with the Flames. Maybe next season, but I just don't see it coming this year. But some guys to look out for are Matthew Coronado. Rookie. This guy, he can move, he can skate, he can play. And a team like the Flames here are still in playoff mode. They're going to need guys like Coronado here, guys like Pelletier, whatever, to step up this year. I mean, guys like Huberdeau, of course, as well. Guys like Dubé, guys like Kadri and Lindholm, of course. But guys like Coronado, Pelletier, they're going to need these guys to step up and get those points. They need Coronado to get up to maybe in the 30s or 40s of points. A guy like Pelletier, who got 7 points in 24 games last year, they need him to step up, maybe get up into the 20s to 30s as well, and really fill in some of those gaps that they're going to be missing now with the losses of Toffoli and whoever else is going to be gone from this team. Kadri, I think 56 points. I think the 50s is where he's at. That's always been where he has been in his career, is like the 40s to 50s. I know his year with Colorado, was his huge year, and he gets the big money for it, so great move for you, Flames, to sign him to the big contract that he doesn't really deserve, but 56 points, I think, is about right for him, so I think that's good. Dylan Dubé, 18 goals, 45 points. He's a guy that I always keep thinking for the Flames is going to finally make that next step forward and never has. So if he could do that, that would be huge, because this team needs it. They need some guys to take up some bigger roles. But Dubé, he's year after year shown that he's just not that guy. 45 points, I mean, that's nothing, that's not an embarrassing number, but he's someone I could see getting more goals. I don't think about assists. I think for goals for him, and he's never done it, and will he? I mean, how am I supposed to know? So I would bank on no, especially on a team with the morale being low as it is. So the Flames, that's not looking good. Mangiapane, Backlund, Coleman, third line, that's pretty good. 43, 56, 38 points for those guys. Veteran line, guys like Mangiapane could make a step forward at any point, maybe, probably not, but could be kind of in a similar situation with Dylan Dubé. So Mangiapane could be another guy, another candidate to maybe take a step forward, get into the higher points of things, but the way things stand right now, I don't see that happening with a guy like Mangiapane. Backlund's another guy who people think could be the next captain of the Flames, but he's also thinking of not re-signing with the team, so that's also up in the air. Coleman, 38 points, not bad for your third line, last guy, so fine third line. Third line's pretty solid. Pelletier, a guy that I want to see try to take a big step forward. He's 22 years old. He can make that step. And if there's ever a team that needs those rookies to take a step forward, it's this team. Ruzicka, 6 goals, 14 points, fine, fourth line centerman, nothing big, no big deal, good two-way guy, nothing special. Dewars, 11 points, 7 goals last year, another just fourth liner. He could be scratched and someone else can make it in, whoever's playing better than him. So Dewar is in the lineup for right now, but I'm sure anything can change there. So offensively, this team, once again, mid is what I think of when I look at this team. Because when I look at them, they don't have the depth of a team like the Seattle Kraken or like the Carolina Hurricanes, where like the top line's got some good hitters and then down the lineup is just like all good. But then they're also not a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning, where it's like top line star-studded, second line leaks in a little bit more of that star power, and then third and fourth line are more role guys. This is a team where it's like they're just nothing that special. They don't have really high highs, and they have some pretty low lows. So for offensively, last year, 16th in goals for. Are they going to be better than that this year? No way. I don't think so. Toffoli being their number one guy and everyone else seemingly going lower and lower, this just spells disaster for a team like this. And then for goals against, what does it look like on the back end of things? So Noah Hanifin, another guy who definitely seems like he's being shipped out of town sooner than later. 38 points last year. If there was a time to trade a guy, it's now. For a defenseman like Noah Hanifin, I don't think he's the type of player that you wait throughout the season and then see what his price is at the trade deadline. I think a Hanifin's a guy you move out sooner than later. and get him out there so a team could sign him to a long contract and let him play with the year for the season with the team. So for Hanifin, I think just as like a smart move for this team, because they do got some good defensive prospects, guys who like they got a solid depth core. So for them, I think they could lose a guy like Hanifin and try to survive and bring back something good in return. So like a team maybe like maybe a team just throwing out a name like the Detroit Red Wings and try to get what, because they've got a ton of defensive prospects. Maybe trade away a Hanifin to a team like that, bring back someone in return, and that would be great. So that would be my suggestion, but does that happen? Probably not. Rasmus Andersson, a guy that they could really build with, 49 points, 11 goals last year. I've always liked Rasmus Andersson. For him, solid guy, just solid defenseman. I've always liked him. That's fine. Chris Tanev, 13 points. He got 1 goal last year. He's a defenseman, right? He's a defensive defenseman. He does his job okay, but really not one of those defensive guys that you're really going like, wow, he's stealing the game, you know? So for him, it's whatever. Not a big deal there. Mackenzie Weegar, 31 points last year. He's a guy that, like, they need a guy like him to step up like a like he did with Florida, and now Brandon Montour with Florida this year, where they take a defenseman and he just gets all those goals. He gets points out there, he's running the mill, he's running the game, he's the one on the power play. I really like Mackenzie Weegar, but he just wasn't as dominant as he was last year with Florida Panthers, and another guy that they need to step up. And then guys like Shillington, no points last year. Zadorov, 6'6". He got a lot of goals, 14 goals, 21 points. So big guy. Every team could use a big guy like that. So Zadorov's fine. So defensively, I'm fine with it. Their core is decent enough. I like them, but at the same time, it's not a defensive core that's going to save a team. It's a defensive core that's good behind a great offensive team, and they just aren't. And that's going to be the issue, is that in my opinion, the best defense is a great offense. And take a look at Colorado, where they keep the puck in the other zone the entire game, and when things get turned around, they just push the puck back the other way immediately, right? And this is a team where they're built towards playing true defense. Like Colorado, they're onslaught. You know, the other team gets the puck, bam, everyone's on the guy, they turn the thing back around. This team is like, we got to skate backwards, skate back to our own zone, and then play defense. That's how this team is designed, and that leads them to being scored on, especially when your goaltenders are falling flat. Markstrom, last year, 23 and 21 was his record, and no. Goaltending numbers I never like looking at, but it does paint a little bit of a story. .892 save percentage, which is horrible for a guy like Markstrom, who was a Vezina candidate 2 years ago. So that's not good. And then Dan Vladar, which is really funny that he's got like the same numbers at .892. That's the same save percentage. A 2.91 to a 2.92. Either goaltender, when they're in net for this team, they're getting scored on basically 3 goals a night, which is not good, especially for a team that is 16th in the league for scoring goals. So they couldn't score enough to get past the goaltending woes. And they need guys. I mean, Markstrom, does he bounce back? I think absolutely. I think he's been on such a good reign of terror as a goaltender that I see, like, it just made sense for a guy like him to kind of fall flat. And he did last year, so I think he does bounce back. He's going to definitely be in the .900s of save percentage. Lower, I would say, probably in the goals against average, but that's more of a team stat in my opinion. So save percentage, I think, goes back up, but goals against average, who knows? However the team is playing. So for right now, the way I see things is this is a team that, do they make the playoffs? I don't think so. I think some teams, like in the Pacific Division where they're in, like the Oilers, do they make the playoffs? You got to think they do. The LA Kings, do they make the playoffs? You got to think they do. The Vegas Golden Knights, yes, of course. Seattle, yes, of course. That's 4 teams right there that make the playoffs, and one of them taking up a wild card spot, right? And then you even come into consideration of teams like the Winnipeg Jets, where, who knows, maybe a guy like Perfetti on that team, he's the guy that takes a step forward after his rookie season, and he becomes like a 25-goal scorer and so many assists, and he fills in one of those roles, and Kyle Connor gets a 50-goal season. Maybe they take up that second wild card spot again, you know? So for the Flames, are they better than those teams? No, they're just not. Easily, in the Pacific Division, you've got to think that this is a 5th or 6th team in that division, and then you got to worry about the Central Division being in the wild card spot as well. So for them, do they make the playoffs? They do if Huberdeau is able to get back into high points. I'm not talking 100, you know? I don't think he's a 100-point player on this team. I think he could get to the 80s, maybe high 70s. Lindholm, 64 points, maybe. If Huberdeau gets better, that number could go up as well. He gets up to like the 70s as well. Sharon Govich, I think he will get more points just by him being a better, higher position on this team. So for me, do they make the playoffs if guys like Coronado and Pelletier make that step forward? Huberdeau goes back into his form, and guys like Dubé, Kadri, Backlund, Coleman, Mangiapane stay where they're at. I don't know. This team just doesn't seem good enough. They just don't seem good enough, and they've only gotten worse. And rookies, like going on a guy like Coronado, like he's not a Matty Beniers, he's not a Trevor Zegras, he's not a... He's just not one of these guys that are going to steal the show for this team, you know? He's just not going to. So for me, does this team, if they make it in the playoffs, are they a deep team? No way. They're out in the first round. If they make it in the playoffs. So to me, it doesn't even matter. In my opinion, I would definitely start trading away guys like Lindholm and Hanifin and try to bring back some good young guys that are probably NHL ready now and build for the future. Because this is a team that needs a future path, right? That they need to shake up the core. Guys like Lindholm, Kadri, Backlund, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to be it. And to me, they need to shake things up. But that's all I got to say. So thank you for watching this. If you've made it this far, thank you for bearing with me with my current technical ways of doing things. I know this isn't going to sound the best. I know it's not going to look the best. I know this isn't the best video I'm ever going to make, but it's the one that I can make right now. So thank you for watching this, and if you've enjoyed this video, please, I'm begging you, pick up your free subscription, and until next time, too sweet, have an amazing day, and ta-ta for now.